about that. My agency advised her on the proper way to execute that bill, and after 2 sessions, she passed it. Now, women still make 70 cents on the dollar of men, but we're still working. We have a Nevada law that just says that if you find out that you're not making the same wages as men, then you can file a complaint, and it can be investigated. That's a right to sue. When we talk about women, we talk about single mothers, we're talking about equal pay. We know statistically that a lot of women are the head of households now. And so it's really important that they're able to make the same amount of money as their male counterpart if they have the same education, skill, and dedication to the job. And it breaks down even differently if you're a woman of color. You get even less. So that's the equal pay bill. Let's talk about ban the box, Tyrone Thompson's bill. He was also a friend of mine. May he rest. One of the things that he really wanted to push during one of his sessions is making sure that if you have a criminal background, that an employer should not use that criminal background or that box. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? Check that box. Used against you in an application process where you can't be fairly screened and apply for the job. He wasn't able to make it applicable to private employers, but he was able to make it applicable to state employers, and I run all the training and investigations on ban the box legislation, and I'm the go-to for that. Let's talk about the Crown Act. We're talking about wearing your hair naturally, creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. That affects this room, that affects this community. This affects Ward 5. If you are of African descent or have textured hair, and you feel like you're being treated differently in schools, meaning your child's being forced to cut her hair, take her braids down, cut your dreadlocks off to compete in sports, the commission does, we oversee that too. And we helped Senator Neal, who's a friend of mine, get that passed. We also did the training on it, because my sorority sister of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a legal expert of the Crown, the National Crown Act. And she was also a mentor of mine too. When I was in law school, I would talk to her and cry about if I was ever gonna pass. And so she was someone who was really a good sister to me. And now we're both in these fields where we're making impact and helping people. And that's a little bit about what I do. When I thought about running for mayor, however, because I worked for now my 4th governor, President appointed again, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Brian Sandoval, Steve Sisolak, and now Governor Joe Lombardo. All very different men. Yeah. It takes a different kind of person to navigate those very different, strong personalities. I'm still here, still fighting for you all behind the scenes. So now let's talk about 2020 and what COVID exposed. It exposed that there are some cracks, right? If you didn't have access to internet, if you didn't have access to healthcare, if you didn't have a home to stay in, you were in trouble. Who did that impact? Someone we know? Does someone need to go to the hospital? Do you have a significant other that had to work 3 or 4 shifts as a nurse to take care of those people who are on life support? Do we have a pandemic preparedness plan set up at the city level? Did we have things put in place so that even if we had to shut down the city, we could still keep the economy flowing? These are things that I had a lot of time to think about, because even though we had a statewide shutdown pursuant to Governor Sisolak, I still had to show up and work. That's another thing. You may not see me, but I'm working, always. This public, forward-facing version of myself, I'm gonna get used to it. I'll take better pictures, I promise. I'll do better, but one of the things that I pride myself in is that I'm really in my zone when I'm working, helping, and checking things off the list to get stuff done. And leveraging partnerships to get stuff done. And so one of the things I just want to say is that I really appreciate this time. I could go on forever. Thank you for that 1 minute marker. But I want to invite you for the Q&A portion to ask and learn more about who I am. Please take an opportunity to get to know me. There are options. I am not new to this. It's been public service since I graduated law school in 2003. I'll be 45 next week. I feel every bit of it. We fix that next. So I just want you to know that I appreciate your time, and I'll pass it off to the next candidate. And I really do want to say thank you, and I appreciate you all.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Doc Walls. Please receive him as he comes to the mic.
Good afternoon. I'm Doc Walls. I'm a candidate for mayor of Las Vegas. I was born and raised in Chicago. I graduated Horace Mann Elementary, Chicago Vocational High School, Tuskegee University, and IIT Chicago-Kent College of Law. I'm one of 7 children born to Mary and William Walls. I'm the first graduate of college from either side of my family.
Wait a minute.
We grew up poor in Chicago, and that's one of the things that drives me. I've seen nights when we went to bed hungry, or nights when we had to use our imagination to make our belly full.
Turn it a little bit.
So I understand what it's like, and that's one of the things that drives me, because the homelessness issue, children going to bed hungry, is something that matters to me. But back in 1982, when Harold Washington announced his candidacy for mayor of Chicago, every fiber of my being stood up, and I knew I had to get involved. I couldn't sit on the sidelines. As tough as it was for me to get to law school, I took a leave of absence from law school, not knowing that they would let me back in, especially if he had lost. But I was willing to take that chance because we were fighting a machine that was choking Chicago. So I got involved, and I helped organize the Lawyers Committee for Harold Washington. I served as president of law schools for Harold Washington. I served as his assistant scheduler, and then I became his direct assistant. In that capacity, I traveled with Harold Washington locally, nationally, and internationally. I reorganized the Departments of Streets and Sanitation, the Department of Water, the Department of Sewer, the Department of Inspectional Services. I was 25 years old, given a lot of responsibility. Those departments had 40,000 workers in them. And he never questioned anything I said. I helped him interview all of his department heads, and he tells each of them, nobody speaks for me except for Doc Walls. I was 25. He also made sure that everyone knew that you had to go through me to talk to him, because he trusted me. And everybody needs someone to stand there in their stead and take the heat off of them. So I'm thankful to have been that person. I went on and I served as National Political Director for Jesse Jackson, his Rainbow Push organization. And in that capacity, I traveled with Jesse all around the country, fighting for unions, fighting for people. I was a union member myself, UAW. So I fight for unions. Yes. I don't believe that you should ever, ever, ever allow anything to happen without making certain that people's interests are covered. So even if you talk about things like bringing companies in to do the city's work, those companies need to be union, because we don't want them taking advantage of people, and I don't stand for that, so I fight for you. I was a contractor. I did deep tunnel work, and I did trucking. I was signatory with all of the required unions, because that's the way we roll. I had comedy clubs in LA, Detroit, Cleveland, and Houston. I managed comedians, 22, including Bernie Mac. Some of you may know who he is. So we went from him earning $47 for performing on a given night to him earning $500,000 on a given night. It was a road that we traveled together, and it was a successful road. I developed a career of a lot of other folks. I currently do business development. Some of my clients are biggest clients in Hollywood. People trust me to take care of their business. Why? Because they know when I'm committed, and I know what I'm talking about. So the things that I want to do here in Las Vegas are not unique, but they're necessary. I'm the only candidate for mayor of Las Vegas who can unify the city by promoting cultural diversity, sensitivity amongst people of all ages, races, socioeconomic background, all religious persuasions, all sexual orientations, all physical and mental disabilities and limitations, because I understand that none of us is any better than the rest of us. All right. I'm the only candidate for mayor who will keep Las Vegas' promise. That's a commitment to public safety, public education, affordable housing, senior care, full employment, balanced economic development, and when all else fails, charity. Because charity is nothing more than the act of giving unselfishly to those in need and expecting absolutely nothing in return. I want to teach businesses in Las Vegas how to survive. See, in business, you're either a producer, a distributor, a vendor, or a lender. There are 4 forms of production: farming, fishing, mining, and manufacturing. There are 4 types of distribution: information reporter, domestic transporter, importer, or exporter. There are 3 types of vendors: wholesale, retail, and real estate sales. There are 3 types of lenders: services, financial, and property. We have people in our communities that are able to do some or all of those things. It's interesting though, when I sit in meetings, very rarely do we encounter anyone that are in the production field: farming, fishing, mining, and manufacturing. We have people who are in service, we have vendors, and we have lenders, but that part has passed us by. I want to grow businesses so that they can actually determine their own fate. It's one thing to talk about allowing us to be subcontractors, but we want to be prime contractors. So how do we make that happen? We unbundle the contracts and make them smaller. We provide wrapper bonding and insurance. We allow those companies to lease equipment rather than require that they own that equipment. And we allow them to have protege-mentor relationships so that they don't make the mistakes that someone else is making. But we also have to give them access to capital loans and grants so they can afford to pay their payroll and pay for that leased equipment until they reach their threshold and they get their first payment. A lot of corporations will hire people as subcontractors and they'll starve them to death so that they ultimately go bankrupt. That would never happen under my watch. As a mayor of Las Vegas, I will be actively involved. You will not mistreat contractors in this city. Why is that important? Because we have to diversify our economy. One thing the pandemic showed us is that our economy is too limited. We are an entertainment, tourism economy. We can't exist like that. We have to be able to compete in the national and global marketplace. See, today's global economy was made possible by the painstaking development of a global civil society. That global civil society is made up of non-governmental organizations, not-for-profit organizations, associations, trade associations, farmers talking to farmers, lawyers talking to lawyers, doctors talking to doctors, people communicating across all geographical, philosophical, all ideological, political, all linguistic, all cultural barriers, all religious barriers. They didn't let anything stop them from communicating. And as a result, the World Wide Web was created. And now that World Wide Web is passing us by. Those black folks live on the other side of the divide. They may have home internet, but they don't know how to maximize the use of that and turn it into something that makes business sense. Because if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. So our goal is to make certain that every single resident here in Las Vegas has an opportunity to prosper. If we're not doing that, what is it all about? Isn't that what government is here for? To step up for you when you can't step up for yourself, to be in rooms where you can't be? And if we're not fighting for you, what's our purpose? So we're going to make certain that when I'm mayor of Las Vegas, that projects that take place in this community or any other community don't just include people who are black, white, Latino, and Asian, but it includes people who live close enough to walk to work. That's what inclusion means to me. The people in that community, who live in that community, we want them to be able to enjoy the fruits of the labor. So we'll establish irreproachable public safety services, not just in terms of the policies, practices, procedures, equipment, training, deployment, response time, and overall performance, but also in terms of making certain that the entire police department is proportionally reflective of the people who live in those communities. We want every resident to have police officers living on that block. We're going to establish irreproachable public service, but we're also going to provide a superior public school education for each and every individual child. And that transcends the development of modern buildings with state-of-the-art equipment and facilities, which is just conducive to safe and potentially productive educational environments. We want to make certain that we know what it takes for each individual child to get from pre-K through 12th grade and beyond. So no more one-size-fits-all education. It's all about educational intensive care and making certain that our children have every fighting chance. I've lived that life, I've had that experience, and I thank you very much for taking a moment to listen to me.
Thank you. Mayoral candidate Cedric Correa, receive him with a hand.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It is great to be back here in the wealthy place. Bishop, First Lady, thank you all for having me here. I am Cedric Correa. I am the current sitting city councilman for Ward 5, where you are sitting, and it is just an honor to represent our neighborhood and our ward as a councilman. I just celebrated 5 years. I spent 2 years in the planning commission prior to that, and I spent 12 years on the board of regents for Nevada System of Higher Education as well. So I have been engaged in public office for a number of years. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, because many of you see me, you know me, but you may not know me. I am born and raised right here in the historic West Side. I am born, and thank you, Ms. Fulton, my neighbor. I'm born and raised right here. I have been representing this community. This is my home. I was baptized by Judge Karen Bennett-Herron, who I call Kay, who is my sister, by her father, right down the street at Zion. And this is my home. My parents moved out here in the mid-60s. Many of you knew my father, Dr. John Correa, who serves this community, was a true community servant. I always joke that if I could collect on all of the money my father is owed as a physician, I'd be a very rich person right now. And this is our home, this is our community. I've been blessed to have served here in a number of capacities. And I'm looking forward to serve you as the next mayor of our city of Las Vegas, and to make history as the first Black mayor in the history of our city, and also the first native-born Las Vegan in the history of our city, which I think is very important. So many people are going to stand here and tell you about what they may do if they get in office. Some people are going to tell you about what they've done decades ago in office. But I'm going to tell you about what I am doing, what we have done. And also it's good for you to understand exactly what the mayor does. Many have talked about a lot of issues that the mayor has no control of, and City Hall has no control of. And if you just look at the work that we have been doing since I've been in office, it is absolutely positively outstanding. We have made a lot of progress in a very short period of time. I always like to say that we are moving at government lightning speed, because that is exactly what we are doing. Government doesn't always move at the speed that you might think that they do, but we've accomplished so much. And we're working off of a strategic initiative. I'm a person that believes in not taking good dollars and putting them towards bad resources. It's important that we take good resources and put them towards a strong initiative, that we get a return on our investment. And if you look at the work that we're doing off of the initiative, the 100 Plan in Action. The 100 Plan in Action is a strategic initiative that went out to the community over a 2-year period. We went back out over another year period, talking about the advancements of our community. Where do you want to go? How do you want to do it? It is community driven. Many of you sat through the charrettes that we had over the course of the years. Many of you came down and gave your thoughts and input on where we are. And we are doing exactly what we said we were going to do. And that's important. I didn't come telling you we're going to do all these far-fetched things. We are doing exactly what we said we are going to do. If you look at the advancement of where we're going, unemployment in Ward 5 is at 15%. We're working to get people ready, trained, prepared to go to work. We received the largest EDA grant in the history of our state from the Department of Commerce. It's almost $7 million to build our Workforce Development Center, 15,000 square foot facility on the corner of Jefferson and D Street, which is in partnership with the College of Nevada, to get people ready, trained, prepared to go to work in manufacturing, construction, which I know that the bishop has a big push in, healthcare, and also information technology. We opened up our Strong Preach Technology Center right at the historic West Side School, where we are training today our young kids in the entry level in the STEM fields to get them ready for the jobs, as well as our active adults. We're training them to get into the entry-level job field. You're never too late to start a new career. And we are working with that in partnership with Cox Communications at the Cox Innovation Center that we have. If you look at the work that's going on Jackson, I know that Bishop mentioned Jackson Avenue, but Jackson Avenue hadn't seen any love in decades. We have put $7 million into the Complete Street program that's taking place there. It's a beautification. We are making the sidewalks wider, the streets smaller, so that we can encourage businesses to come in and create that curbside dining, or curbside shopping that's taking place. new lighting, new trees that are taking place to beautify that. It's the first step to many steps of businesses coming back into the corridor. We have met with the owners of Jackson. If many of you might have come out to our meetings and talked about, what do you want to do? How do we help you get to where you want to get to? And so we've been working with the owners of the property on Jackson and making sure that they are getting themselves prepared. Because look, we're moving forward. We are not sitting around talking about it. We are in do about it mode. And so you need to get prepared and ready to take advantage of what we have going on. And Jackson Street, like I said, is just one facet of it. We work with Congressman Horsford to get $3 million to create a complete street program to round out the historic West Side area, which is important. We just had a groundbreaking, the ribbon cutting for our urban farm. 25% of our community experiences some form of food insecurity. James Day Park had been sitting empty for years, and we said, what can we do to revitalize this park that is going to be an asset to the community? Well, we need to get our fresher fruits, vegetables, and our wares into the community. We need to grow them ourselves so that we can be healthier, and so that we can have access to fresh fruits and vegetables and not have to go outside of our community. This is the first phase. We have 2 containers that we are growing our leafy greens right now. Thank you to a partnership with MGM Resorts, where we received $500,000 to get that first phase up. You gotta keep in mind that we've never received any money from MGM Resorts or from the gaming corridor until I came aboard. We've got Cox Communications, who are our partner now. We've got MGM Resorts with $500,000. I always have to thank Bill Hornbuckle, who's the chairman and CEO of MGM Resorts, because he led that charge with this company to help us get that. And that's just phase 1. Phase 2, we're building a co-op grocery facility where we're going to have it right on campus, where you're able to come. If you qualify for SNAP, you're able to get it for free. If you live in the community, you're able to get what we have for a discount. If you live outside of the community, you got to pay full rate for that. We also work out a deal with MGM Resorts where we're going to be able to sell what we grow to their casinos up and down the strip to help that farm be sustainable. Phase 2, co-op grocery facility. Phase 3 is a 4 or 5 story hydroponic grow facility, which we're going to grow our own, some more leafy greens, as well as some housing that's going to be attached there at James Day Park. That's very important because we know that there's a housing shortage. And speaking of housing, we are on the corner of Jefferson and D Street. You're going to see construction going to be starting on a new share downtown. That project has expanded. It is going to be 104 units of workforce, affordable housing there, 10,000 square feet of retail space on the bottom, as well as a test kitchen that's going to be there where you, Lady Faye, wants to go out and have a kitchen and go cook her wares and sell it to the public, which I hope you do. Then you can go there and you can co-kitchen in this facility. And that's going to take place right there on Jefferson and D Street. We opened up another housing facility right on the corner of Jefferson as well, 8 units, which are already sold out. We're working with the Southern Valley Regional Housing Authority to repurpose Marble Manor. We're going to double the capacity for Marble Manor, go from about 200 units over 400 units. We've worked with the Southern Valley Regional Housing Authority to receive what's called a Choice Neighborhood Grant to do the design for that, which will trigger with HUD to bring in more dollars for housing. So we're going to double capacity of housing in just that area, which is another great thing. And speaking of housing, we've had city-owned properties that we've gone out and we have had RFPs out to develop those properties into housing units. We have people who have responded to those, and you're going to see some more of those housing units come on board as more construction is going to be starting. In addition, we, on the corner of Jackson and D Street, we're going to build a health and wellness facility there. You know, we partnered with Roseman University to start the Genesis program, which is going into our community, talking about health, getting our community healthier. We're working with UNLV School of Medicine, UNLV School of Public Health. We're going to have a doula there as well as physicians there. And also we're working with Lazarus Cancer Institute to provide stage 3 and stage 4 cancer. They go around the country helping people get into trials around the country. And all that is taking place as well. You've already seen that parcel is graded off. We've done our soil samples for there, and we're going to be moving forward with that project as well. We're going to do library here in Las Vegas. 1 minute, man? Okay. Goes by quick. We're getting a new library, which is fantastic, right in Enterprise Park there. Mario's is getting redone. Working with Commissioner McCurdy in order to get that project up and running because we need a grocery facility here in our community. We are working to get our community better. The goal is to raise people up, not raise them out. If you think about it, all the work that we've done, we've accomplished in a very, very short period of time as the councilman for Ward 5, imagine what we are going to do when we elect me as the next mayor for the city of Las Vegas. The first black mayor, the first Vegas-born mayor in the history of our city. It's our time, and I tell you this all the time, I'll leave you with this. Nobody is more qualified to be the next mayor for the city of Las Vegas than me, and nobody loves this city more than me. I thank you all for your time. God bless you. We got a lot of work to do. Thank you.
Our final mayor candidate is Ms. Shelley Berkeley. Please receive her as she comes.
Hi, everybody. Okay, can everybody hear me?
Oh, yes.
It's a pleasure for me to, oh, you're gonna fix me? Thanks, I appreciate it. I am absolutely delighted to be here, and I've enjoyed listening to everybody that has spoken this morning and now this afternoon. Last month, I was here in this room at the Shepherd's Breakfast, which I sponsored. I had such an extraordinary time that I called Deacon Fulmer a couple of days after I appeared, and I asked if I could do the next one, or when can I sponsor the next one? And at that time, he invited me to sponsor the ministers' brunch, and so we're here today, and I'm so delighted that I'm here sharing the stage with all of the mayoral candidates. I think it's very important, the theme of this breakfast, you make a difference. And I will share with you my experiencing in having this community make a difference, at least in my life. First, let me acknowledge the bishop, Bishop McDonald, everybody that's here, all of the bishops, all of the first ladies. It's a pleasure to know you and a pleasure to see you here. I want to acknowledge the elected officials. My friend, the Assemblywoman, I was in her office in Carson City just last week. She's doing an extraordinary job. Assemblyman Collins and I served together, and Harvey Mumford taught my kids at Bonanza High School, and they turned out okay, Harvey, so that's good. And a particular favorite of mine, an outstanding public servant, Karen Bennett. Karen, she is amazing. She did a remarkable job on the bench. I was very honored when her father passed away, who I knew very, very well, when she called me and asked if I would give one of the eulogies at his funeral. It was a high point of my life, making that presentation and seeing her here today. I've been listening to her talk in various functions for the last 30, 40 years of our lives, and it's a delight to be on the same stage with her. And Michelle from SEIU. This woman is extraordinary, and not only is she smart, not only is she tough, but this woman is beautiful to look at. So, Michelle, thank you for all particularly, she knows I have, over the course of many, many decades serving in office as a public servant, she knows I have 100% voting record with labor. It's not just from Congress, and it's not just from Board of Regents. From the Nevada State Assembly, where I started serving in 1983, my record with labor is 100%. I come from a union family. I know the importance of unions. I know the importance of the labor movement because I was part of it. I'm one of them, and I'm very, very proud of that. When I first started running for Congress, I approached Billy McCurdy, who I went to high school with. We are both part of the first graduating class at Valley High School. And I asked him to help me with the campaign. we started going to church. I went to the 8 o'clock service, the 9:15 service, and the 11 o'clock service every Sunday for over a year. And at first, and Billy will tell you, I was doing it for political purposes, where you go to church, that's where the voters are, so you're meeting the voters. And the pastor introduces you, and you get up, and you wave, and then afterwards you stick around, and everybody talks to you. And I knew it was important, but gradually, with every passing Sunday, it became so much a part of my week, and ultimately it was the best part of my week, sitting in church, praying with people. If you pray with them, you're going to know them, and you're going to be a better representative. I spent so much time at the black churches, my rabbi asked me if I was still Jewish. So that kind of gives you an idea. So why am I running? I'm running because, as all of you know, if you don't have a seat at the table, chances are you're on the menu. I don't want to be on anybody's menu. And I think it's about time that none of you are on anybody's menu either. I also believe that you should do what you love for as long as you can. I love public service. Lord knows I've been in it enough years. And if you are an adult in the community that you grew up in, everybody knows you. I can't reinvent myself. I can't make myself into anything other than what I was 60 years ago when my family first came to town. So I believe in public service. I love public service. It gives me a purposeful life, knowing that I am helping people to fulfill their needs, their dreams, their aspirations for their children. That's what a public servant should do. You serve the public if you are a public servant. The public does not serve you. And a lot of elected officials have never quite gotten that straight. I grew up with it, I know it, and I know it today. I believe that the city of Las Vegas is going to explode over the next 10 years. It's going to be wildly successful. And the bishop spoke about the Raiders coming, and the A's are here, and the A's are coming. I guarantee we're going to have an NBA team in the next few years. Things are hot, and they're especially hot right now. But it doesn't do any good if we say Las Vegas is successful if each and every one of my fellow citizens, every constituent isn't part of the success, because then it is not successful at all. And we're only as successful as our weakest citizen, and none of us should be the weakest citizen. Every project, everything that we're doing in this community needs to lift all boats. And as they say, a rising tide lifts all boats, and if it doesn't lift all boats, it's not a rising tide, and it needs to be. You all know me very well. When I was in Congress, I came home every weekend. Why? Because I wanted to be with my constituents. I don't love flying back and forth from Washington, D.C. I knew I was needed here, because if you're not living in the community, if you don't know the community, how are you going to represent them in Washington, D.C.? It is very important for us to have elected officials that you don't have to make an appointment with. We say it's a 24/7 job. Yes, it is, and that means that you are accessible. I don't want anyone to have to go through a gatekeeper. I don't want anyone to have to go through someone to see me. You'll see me. I'm visible. I'm out in the community. This is where I am. This is where I live. You need to have an elected official. You need to have a mayor that you can come over to, sit down and talk to, make an appointment with the office, with me, without having to go online and making an appointment. That's how important it is. There should be tremendous growth and development over the next decade, as again our success continues to expand. And we need more businesses. We need more black-owned businesses, and I understand that and I know it. And yes, the construction industry, why don't we have more African American contractors and subcontractors. We need to do that, and we need to ensure that with every project that goes up, there's a clause that says not only union, which is very important, but black and minority owned as well. That's the future. When my family first came to town, there were 80,000 people in the Las Vegas Valley.
1 minute.
Everything we owned was in a U-Haul at our back, hooked up to the back bumper. We made a life for ourselves in the middle of the desert. My father was a waiter when I was growing up. Neither one of my parents graduated high school. In my family, it didn't matter if you were pretty or popular, it mattered that you got good grades in school so you could make something of yourself. And we did. We turned our family around with a good education. Everyone in this country is entitled to the best possible education so they can make something of themselves. And as far as healthcare is concerned, I have run the most successful medical school in the state of Nevada for the last 10 years. I can be very, very helpful as we expand UNLV's footprint in the medical corridor. I've been working with UNLV and Touro and Roseland for the last 10 years. Every American citizen is entitled to accessible, affordable health care. Nobody should be turned away, and that's why I was one of the co-sponsors of Obamacare when I served in Congress. And you want to be there. I know that my time is up, but these are the issues that are so front and center right now. Crime. You want to walk out of the front door of your house without fear that you're going to be assaulted. And we need to work with the police department, the new sheriff, to make sure there's no racial profiling. Everybody gets treated with respect and dignity no matter what. And I believe that I could work very closely with the new sheriff in order to do that. Affordable. Thank you so much, and I hope our campaign continues, that I can earn your support. You've been solid supporters of mine throughout my political service, and I hope that I can continue to earn your support. Thank you so very much.
Please give all of our mayoral candidates a round of applause. We're getting ready to go into questions. Q&A. We're going to ask that the questions that are asked, I think we have, do we have our mic? Okay. We already have a list of names. I got you. We have a list of names and the questions, so we're going to allow each one of you no more than 1.5 minutes to respond to the question, so that each candidate can get their response. And I'm going to ask Reverend Will Rucker. Yeah, a mic's coming too.
Thank you so much. So almost exactly 2 years ago today, the Las Vegas City Council unanimously resolved to embrace compassion as a key value for the city of Las Vegas. You were one of the first votes for that. What does this mean to you, and how will you move the resolution forward into tangible transformation? Specifically, how will compassion guide your decisions concerning public-private partnerships, community engagement, accessibility, diversity, equity, and inclusion? So in short, how will you ensure Las Vegas is truly compassionate Las Vegas?
Yeah, everybody gets 1 minute to answer.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. So thank you, Reverend Rucker. I appreciate the question, and I believe to paraphrase your question, you said, how are we going to be compassionate leaders, or how is that going to be a part of our platform? I despise the word platform because I like meeting with communities and finding out what their issues are and then making that a part of my initiatives to try to tackle problems within the first 30, 90, 100 days. But compassionate, one of the things that you can't fake is who you are, and it has to kind of be who you are that you care. So one of the things I would encourage everybody to do is look at people's records on how they serve and how they care and how they give back. But as it pertains to me specifically, compassion is in everything I do. It's the thoughtfulness, it's taking the time to make those contacts, go out and meet with people, listen to concerns, meet with stakeholders, and talk about how we can collectively come together to solve city problems. And you talked about the ordinance that is now making compassion, diversity, equity, inclusion a part of governing. Well, that's what I do as the Equal Rights Administrator. We're always looking at how you can make people feel safe in a workplace, how people feel respected. It's not just like a D&I checklist. It's not just something that you just do. It really should be important to lift up women, to lift up people of color. I'm sorry, I do not like the word minorities. We're not neither. I like people of color, and so lifting up people so that they can be the best of who they want to be and reach the goals and achievements that they want. And that's part of what Doc did say, was that government should be accessible to people based on their need for government, where it makes sense. And so compassion will be a part of my platform. It's just who I am.
Time.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen. Look, compassion is what we all are, it's who we are. Like, I'm born and raised in this community. This is my community. I have a passion for Las Vegas. And if you look at the work that we've done in terms of a lot of social issues, especially in homelessness and behavioral health, you know, when I got in office, I went around the country looking at best practices for homelessness. Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Denver, Miami, San Antonio, Phoenix, looking at best practices to find humanitarian ways to deal with our persons who are indigent. And we brought a lot of that back. If you look at our homeless corridor and our courtyard that we've done, a $25 million investment that the city has made into our only low barrier shelter, which is in Ward 5, that's taking place. Our recuperative care center, where we're taking those who have a physical ailment, they can go to this facility and they can receive physical care with nurses and doctors, as well as workforce development folk and as well as mental health professionals. You know, recently we just came back from San Diego and Phoenix with Commissioner Jones, Councilman Knudsen, our new sheriff, McMahill, members from Health and Human Services, as well as UMC, looking at behavioral health. We're looking to bring into Southern Nevada what's called crisis stabilization units, CSUs, where people can go who are experiencing some form of mental trauma. We're about to launch a 988 program, which you can call 911, 311 for non-emergencies, 988 for mental health care, which we don't have here in Southern Nevada, which we're bringing now into Las Vegas from the work that we're doing. So all that we're doing in terms of dealing with our indigent individuals carries compassion with it. You know, the goal is you can't arrest your way out of these issues. You have to find humanitarian ways and best practices to deal with our community.
Time.
Oh.
On Tuesdays, I go and I feed the homeless. The reason we do that is because we know that a city is only as strong and as safe as its most vulnerable resident. We have people who are disconnected from society, detached from reality, and people who are struggling to find their way. Those people have access to guns. They're misfits. But what you also know is that many of the people who have committed crimes against society and attacked people are people who felt put upon and didn't feel as though they were part of the community. So we're reaching out to those people every single day. It's been far too long. We've got a tiny homes initiative to make certain that we provide homes and houses for people in mixed income communities, because poor people can't lift up poor people. We don't want to see another homeless community in Las Vegas. We want to bring those homeless communities back into the fold. You have a lot of people who, because of COVID, became homeless. Some people are sofa surfing. Homeless doesn't mean helpless. We have to give them a hand. And compassion is that thing that we do, not just because it's beneficial for us, but it's beneficial for them. We care about our brothers. We are our brother's keeper. And as a result, we have to reach out and do more. We can't talk about it. This has gone on way too long. There was a time when the city council voted to criminalize the homeless. That's not the solution. No. That's not the solution. We can always find enough money to put them in jail, can't we?
Time.
Thank you.
I think it's safe to say everybody up on this podium is compassionate and understands compassion. I want to talk to you about something else that corresponds with this. The 24 election, if it's for mayor of Las Vegas or president of the United States, is going to be among the most pivotal in this nation's history. I do not like the direction that this nation is taking. I think there's too many guns out on the streets and that kills our children. I think there's books being banned that have no right to be banned. I think history is not being taught in the classroom because it's going to offend somebody. I suspect nobody in this room would be offended by a true representation of the history of this country. You want to talk compassion? Let's be compassionate and let's do what is right for this country. And it starts with voting. If you don't vote in America, you don't count. And all of us should stand up and be counted. Nothing is more important than exercising your franchise as an American citizen. There are how many of tens of thousands of people that have died in this nation's history just to be able to go to the polls and vote. Let us not forget the importance of this, and the importance of being compassionate starts with voting at the polls and making a difference in the lives of not only your family, but of all of your fellow citizens.
Time.
That's what's important.
Next question, Reverend Mike Kirkland. Is he still here? All right. And we're going to bring the questions down to 1 minute, or responses to 1 minute, and then the next question we'll bring it down to 30 seconds. Yes.
Good evening. Thank you guys for being here. And not to be derogatory, but everybody is saying the same thing. If we closed our eyes, we wouldn't know who was talking. So my question is as the mayor, what are you going to do to differentiate yourself from the typical everyday spiel that comes from politicians? And don't give me that ain't politician story. You're all politicians. So who is going to identify themselves differently than what's the word? The sameness that came out of all of your mouths?
Good question.
1 minute.
In the last election, last primary election for governor, I ran as a candidate for governor. I got in that race on the very last day because nobody else had stepped up. You had the Republican Party, which was attempting to take away our right to vote. You had a Republican Party that was telling big lies. And I confronted them at each and every single forum. I was behind enemy lines. It was a very uncomfortable position. But the reward came when I got the endorsements of the Las Vegas Sun newspaper. I beat out 14 candidates for that endorsement, so I do distinguish myself. I got the endorsement of the Las Vegas Weekly, which is the largest magazine in Nevada. And they made it clear that 1, I stand up for what's right. 2, I tell the truth and I confront lies. 3, I had the best program for public safety. 4, I had the best program to balance the budget for Las Vegas.
Time.
What makes me different? Well, let's see. I guess I am a politician now, but here goes. Because I did see that there needed to be some change. I am forward-thinking. I am your neighbor. I don't live behind a gate. I live in Ward 3. My house has been squatted. I deal with older parents with pre-existing conditions. I do take care of my family. I am a hard-working Black woman who put myself through school, who paid off my scholarships. Thank you, Joe Biden, for that public service forgiveness of over 10 years. I am a woman of my word. I think a lot of us all have similar priorities because the needs are consistently the same, but the approach is different, and I will be accessible. You can go in my DMs. I'll probably write you back. I'm here now. A month ago, you didn't know me, but here I am with you beautiful people now. Give me a chance.
Thank you. Well, first, I respectfully disagree with you in terms of all of us sounding alike. I mean, there's nobody here that has done what I'm doing and that is doing what I'm doing currently in office. Once again, I'm doing exactly what you said I'm going to do. And as mayor, look, we're going to continue to keep our community safe. I work with 3 area commands, Bolden, Northwest, and Downtown Area Command. I work on fiscal affairs committee with the sheriff directly on the Las Vegas Convention Visitor Authority, bringing tourism into our community, water authority dealing with issues for that, and I'll continue to advance. And if you look at me as a politician, I'm a small business owner. I started my business in 2006 as an advertising firm. Many politicians have never owned their own business. They have no idea what it takes to try to raise capital, to try to get clients and to keep clients. They have no idea what it takes to go through a recession. I've gone through 2 recessions and coming out of the second one now with our billboard company, Investment in Restaurant. So I'm much different than anybody who's running for public office. And you know, look, I'm the first Vegas born mayor in the city, which makes me also a little bit different.
I don't think there's anybody in the community that is as able to connect people with each other than I am. And I'm going to give you an example. I had an advisory, when I first became Congresswoman, I had Women's Advisory Committee, Veterans Advisory Committee, African American Advisory Committee. I had my Veterans Advisory Committee. The lady vets came over to me, told me they needed a mammogram machine because in the Adelaide Del Dio Clinic on MLK. I said, all right, I worked very hard to get the mammogram machine. We had a press conference, everybody was clapping, and I made a comment. I said, next time, I'm gonna get you an MRI machine. Somebody came behind me and they said, think bigger. I said, bigger than an MRI machine? That VA hospital in North Las Vegas, I got the funding, I got the land, and why is that? Number 1, because my constituents came and talked to me about it. Number 2, they needed it. And number 3, I had the ability and the contacts to make sure that happened. That's what I can do, and that's a promise I make to you.
Our next question from Bishop Terry Cox. The mic is coming to you.
Hello, everybody. All of y'all sound wonderful. My question deals more so with incarceration. Black women now being incarcerated higher than almost any other ethnic group. And black men and black women lead the thing. We are like 10, 12%, but yet we're 80% of incarceration. I heard my lawyer speak. I want to know what kind of legislation, what kind of verbiage is going to be done so that black folk don't be incarcerated at this extra rate that everybody else. And then also the fines, the sentencing, Nevada is spending almost like $18,000 per prisoner, but yet we only spend about $9,000 in education. I believe education and incarceration are going together. So while we're building buildings and skyscrapers, what about our grandchildren and great-grandchildren where they won't be arrested unfairly? And I'm done.
All right.
Thank you. I'll answer that. Well, first, you have to realize that the laws that are established within the state of Nevada are established at the state legislature. That's not something that the mayor or city council oversees. I was glad to see that the legislator is here today to hear what you're saying. And it's a great book, the new Jim Crow. I'm not sure if you've read it, but it highlights exactly what you're talking about. In terms of education, look, the city of Las Vegas, we're doing amazing things. We have 19 schools that we provide wraparound services for. We call reinvent schools. 13 of them are in my particular ward. We provide pre and post school for them. We started a strong future bus that goes into the community. We're teaching our kids in pre-K right now at the West Side School that I started, which is there. We have a Batteries Included program where we give My Brother's Keeper initiatives. We provide summer jobs for kids. We provide homework assistance. We provide college tours. We have an entire department, youth development, social innovation we work with. I drop off tons of school supplies to schools every day to support the schools in our ward right now as we speak.
Thanks, Councilman. I will go right into the incarceration question. It was a very good question. And so you're right, African Americans disproportionately make up more of the prison population than the national average of us just living outside. One of the things that we would do, and because the mayor does not control that aspect of government, one of the things that we can do is partner. As Congressman Berkeley said, we partner with folks like John Ponder, Hope for Prisoners, having successful re-entry programs a good friend of mine, where once you have come out of the system, that you are embraced with wraparound services to get your identification card, to get some assistance to find a job, and also to get a home, so that you can re-enter in society and just pay for your kids to have a good life, to be one of the things that is really interesting too, and I'm just gonna pivot. With the Equal Rights Commission, I run into a lot of these issues, and I'm able to bring ideas to kind of just say, oh, it's your idea, really. The first hire within the department was through Hope for Prisoners, who's my assistant.
Time.
Okay, ran out of time.
It starts with policies. That's the most important thing. So the one thing that my administration will do is adopt and codify forward-thinking, community-friendly policies in the police department. Additionally, we'll implement the most effective best practices to make certain that they're proactive and that we are anticipating that people have those kinds of problems when the police stop them. We want to make certain that police interactions with our people are less confrontational, non-violent. We want to make certain that everybody goes home safely, but it begins with policy. If we don't have policies such that the police know that they talk to you the same way they talk to everyone else, that it begins with respect, then we have a problem. So we're going to make certain that our police are well trained and that they fully understand what their duties and responsibilities are to you as the taxpayer, and that they treat you the same way that they treat any other person. So then we don't have to worry about you showing up in front of a DA, going to court, and having trumped up charges, which then ends up with you going down the river.
Our next question, Dr. Ray Webb. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. I'm so sorry.
There are so many societal challenges right now, as there have been in the past, that we need to address. I was at an elementary school, Whitney Elementary School. 70% of the kids that go there, these are little ones, are homeless. 70%. They don't get hot meals except when they're at school. They don't have a place to live. They don't get health care and dental care, and then we expect these kids to learn. There is so much that we need to do in order to ensure that our kids are off the street, they're in a safe environment, they get a good education. I don't want to deal with people after they get out of prison. I want to make sure they don't go into prison. And the idea behind that is you provide them a good beginning, a good foundation, so that they aren't struggling for the rest of their lives. And yes, we should be putting our resources into education and teaching our children, because you're right, it costs a whole lot less to educate a child than it does to incarcerate an adult.
Time. All right, for the sake of time, Dr. Webb is there. For the sake of time, we're gonna go down to 30 seconds. And we're down 30 seconds. Dr. Webb, you have your question?
Mine's going to be quite simple. First of all, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you to each candidate that is here today, mayor candidate, for taking this time out of your busy schedule to come and present your platform to us on today. I do understand that the mayor is the mayor of the city of Las Vegas. However, you're here in the West Side, historical West Side community, here in this wonderful place on today. My question has already been asked by Bishop Bill McDonald, and it was followed up without you not even knowing by Congressman Xavier Creer and Shelley Berkeley. And I want to thank you for your response. And my question is the effect of what's going to happen in this West Side community and development and what is going to take place. But you two have already answered my question, unless the other two candidates would like to respond, since your economic development concerning this West Side Las Vegas.
Yeah. When a person gets off a plane coming to Las Vegas, they have no reason to come to this ward. They have no reason to come here whatsoever. They don't leave any tourism dollars. We have to change that. We have to build entities here that attract people. Tourism is the big business in Las Vegas. There is no tourism here, and there's no reason for anyone to come here and do it. So that's the flaw in what we're talking about when we talk about economic development. We got to bring new dollars here. We have to bring dollars that come in from outside of Las Vegas to feed this community. We can't continue to eat at our own flesh.
We need to invest in business owners that look like us. We need to hire people that look like us. We need to give opportunities to resurrect the Moulin Rouge. We need to make sure that our parks and schools look comparable to other wards. We need to support business here. It's exactly what other folks have said. I hope I answered that question as well. And the mayor should be able to facilitate those conversations, because one of the things that I'm getting when I'm meeting folks is they're asking for equity in bids.
All right. So you don't want to ask that question? All right. Dr. McCurdy, if you would.
I got one question I want to ask.
This one question. And this one question moving forward is to one candidate. So either you can select your candidate or we'll select
I
that
just
candidate.
want to ask one question.
To whom?
To all of them, it's a very important question. I don't think that all of you know that in the next 2 months, the city of Las Vegas will be seeking to hire a city manager. There's a young lady who has been with the city of Las Vegas who's seeking that post to become city manager. And the mayor has one employee. The mayor has one employee, and that is the city manager. Nevada is a city, county manager government. So my question is, since Councilman Queer know what I'm talking about, that this young lady who has served in the city of Las Vegas from the conception of being a summer employee, now she has risen to one of the administrators in the city. Her name is Dr. Lisa Morris Hibbler, and she's going to be seeking the office of city manager when the city of Las Vegas advertised for a city manager. So I like to know what all you would do, because that means when you become mayor, you do not have to fire the city manager to get who you want to be city manager. Because the city manager serves at the pleasure of the council. It takes 4 people to get them appointed, it takes 4 people to get them removed. So I'm encouraging all you who are running for office to contact every council person to get her appointed, because we have had a Hispanic city manager, we've had a Caucasian city manager, but we have not had an Afro-American female or male city manager, if I can remember.
All right, Councilman Clear, if you would be the one to answer that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a question in there, but
Yes,
but Mr. McCurdy, with all due respect, I don't think that my colleagues here are in a position to decide who should be the next city manager, because of the fact that they don't know all they can and just haven't worked with them. So it would be really irresponsible for them to say they would be in support of Dr. Lisa Morris-Hibbler. For the record, I am in support of Dr. Lisa Morris-Hibbler to be the city manager. She's done an amazing job, and I hope that she gets a gig.
That was not my question.
Okay, I'm confused then. I'm sorry.
Try to shoot me down every time.
No, Mr. McCurdy, I'm not. By all means, I'm
My
not.
question is, they're not in that position.
Right,
None of them.
right.
You're the only person. But my question is, if they have any relationship with you as a council person or any council
To
member.
support her,
To
to reach
support
out.
these-
Okay. So it's more of a statement though to say, I'm Mr. McCurdy, I love you. I'm not trying to shoot you down by any means. I'm just saying that I didn't understand it. I started my conversation off by saying I didn't fully understand if there was a question. So if this came off as a way that I'm trying to shoot you down, I apologize by all means, because that was not the case by any means.
Okay.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Okay, thank you very much. Billy, you and I talked about this last week when we were at the meeting regarding the Harlem Nights Casino. I've already made 3 calls to 3 different city council people expressing my support for this woman. She's qualified, she's talented, she's got 20 some odd years of service with the city, and isn't it about time that we appoint an African American to that job? And one more thing, Billy, will you take my picture of everybody?
All right, time. We have 3 more left. Okay, no, I got to, no.
Mr. McCurdy, thank you so
Hello.
much. And we will do
Hello.
a photo op.
Hello, I got this.
Oh. Should I
Our
just-
next question, Pastor Steve Thompson. Is he here? All right, Pastor Gordon, are you here?
All right, 30 seconds, 29 left. I want to ask this question. I'm still kind of new to the city, if you will, 5 years in now. And as a new pastor in the city, what I find a little bit challenging is connecting with the mayor's office. I have the unfortunate pleasure of coming from Compton, and if you all know about Compton, you know it's a little bit of a challenge there. But my question then is, as the mayor, what will you do to connect not only with the pastors who are seasoned, but the new pastors that are coming in to help bring a new wave into the city?
Who do you want to end? Okay, good.
I have always made it clear that anyone can have my cell phone number. That has never changed. My telephone number is 702-349-4809. And I welcome calls because that's the only way you keep grounded and keep it attached to what's really happening in society. So I will never, ever divorce myself from that concept. My phone number will be publicly clear, and I'll answer every call.
Thank you. As the millennial on the panel, I have the pleasure of not only being raised in the Baptist church, but also my mom being Catholic, but also being non-denominational Christian, and also knowing your grandkids, your kids, and how they're praising and how they're coming together and having concerts, rock concerts in the name of Jesus. So connecting to not only traditional and respecting traditional pastorship and bishopness and coming together as a church, but also, yeah, I said bishopness. That is, because bishop is not a term that the Gen Zers use. They just wear jeans. They wear skinny jeans and they go and praise Jesus. But you know what? We connect with everybody, mayor for all. And whoever loves the Lord, I will connect with them. Whoever wants to work and live and play in this city, you will have access. You will have access.
Thank you. So we work every week with the pastors. When we launched the 100 Plan in Action, we met with many individual churches at the churches with the pastors to talk about the work that we're doing to get their input. And in my particular ward, whether it's, Aguias, whether it's Pastor Matt Tice at Liberty Baptist Church, or whether it's churches in the historic West Side, we work closely with them. And a lot of the social issues that they have, a lot of nonprofit work that we have, Mountaintop, we've done work with the houses on a lot of different issues. And so we work very closely with the churches and the pastors. Pastor West, we continue to help him and support him with the program that he has, taking kids to college tours. It's a part of our nomenclature, and we'll continue to do it.
Thank you all for all of the candidates. Please give all of these candidates a round of applause. We appreciate their time. Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm following instructions from the bishop. I'm following instructions from the bishop.
One more question that was being the bishop. You gonna tell me the bishop tells you to include me? Are you gonna say the bishop tell you? You got this,
No, my question is to Commissioner Creed. What are we going to do to enhance the hiring and training of the young people in our community for summer jobs?
For summer jobs? Great question. So we have a program with Barriers Included where we actually, and I have gone out and gotten relationships with businesses where we actually will place kids into jobs and we will actually pay that wage for them, $15 an hour to get people into these jobs. So we're working with different industries. If somebody has opportunity looking for an intern to come to work, please let me know. We will provide them and we would pay for them. So it's important with us. And also with all our new industries that we have going on with our Strong Christian Technology Center, with our Workforce Development Center. We're training kids in the STEM, and we're helping them place them in the job with our innovation centers that we have, and we're taking them internally. And I also have interns that are coming to work with me here on the summertime as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's applaud our candidates. Let's appreciate this setting. Amen. And I thank God for each and every last one of you here today. We all make a difference, amen. We all in our own capacity makes a difference, amen. We appreciate you coming and your transparency, amen, and what you do. We just want to thank everybody that participated. We're not in the atmosphere or in the position to offend anybody at any time, but sometimes when orders are given, orders are given. And those that take the order should not be, you know what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So that's how we operate. I am the head of this house. Whatever I say in the house, it has to be that. Should be nobody question. We're not trying to offend you, mayor of the city, amen. We're not trying to offend you at all. You are statesman. You're the one we love. I didn't know your name was there, amen. So we don't want you to take that out on the bishop. I'll take full responsibility for what happens in this house, amen. So we thank God. We did a good job, didn't we? Yeah. Let me say this, we're not like the Sunday school class. When you're in the Sunday school class, you debate, you can't even shake hands after the Sunday school class. Because everybody wants their opinion to be the opinion, amen. But we shake hands after this setting because we're all here for one purpose, amen. So let's give Bishop a hand, amen. Family to God will. We appreciate it, amen. So we got to back for the shepherd's breakfast. Just spread the word, Pastor, that we're here for a shepherd's breakfast. We have to be that one that makes the difference. That's right. And they came because we was here. That's right. We was here, so they came to talk to the pastor because they know the ear of the pastor is the ear of our constituents, our congregation. So they came on that merit, and we want to stay right there. Yeah. Is that all right? Amen. Amen.
Didn't catch me this.
We're here for us today again. We thank God for her.
Catch me. Get ready to start.
Is everything good? Yes, sir. Again, we're not here to offend anybody. We all, I say again, we can eat together, so we can do that. We can conversate together, but we need to learn how to respect each other's ministry or positions. That's right. We need to learn that. So that's one thing we don't do as we should do is respect each other's position. We always think that we can do it better, say it better. But if we learn how to come to unity and all that, we are better. We're better for it. So if nothing else, Mr. Sandra. Yeah, chair. Pastor, I'm sorry. All right. What, in June, what?
The Church of God in Christ, Nevada First Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction. Church of God in Christ will be holding their 74th Holy Convocation with Pentecostal Temple Church of God in Christ. There's a banquet on June the 10th, and the Nevada party is at 5 o'clock. We want everybody to buy tickets, so the money is going to support the youth of the church.
Amen. Also here on the June.
And Bishop's Day is 11.
Yeah. Here on May the 19th, which stands May the 19th through the 21st, First Lady is holding her Matters of the Heart Winners Convention. So if you get an opportunity, just talk to her after the service. It'll be 7 o'clock each evening, the 19th to the 21st.
Two quick announcements. For those who would like to be a police chaplain, see me after the meeting. Also, those who would like to take a field trip to the training center that the officers go through, check with me so we can set that date up so we can go and see exactly how the police are trained. We have one of the top training facilities in the country, and the police are being trained much differently than what they used to. Let us pray. Our Father and our God, we just thank you for this time as we have come to fellowship with one another. Father, we ask that right now, as the candidates have come, we thank you for their comments. And Father, we pray that they have spoken from their heart. They're very transparent. And Father, we just ask right now that the things that have been said from each and one, that we can put in our heart, Father, and meditate on that. So when that time comes, we can make the right decision. Father, we ask you right now, Lord, we thank you right now for Bishop McDonald and his lovely wife and the wealthy place. And we thank you for all the other pastors that will take the time out of their schedule to come to be a part of this great debate session here. We thank you in Jesus' name, Father. We pray and ask you other blessing. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank God.
Amen. If you want to take some pictures, we want to take a picture.